What's going on, guys? This is Kaishiro. Welcome back. So we are here with another video. Our video for today will cover tier list post July banlist, OCG banlist. So these are the decks that top players on Japan assume that will conquer and top the current format this July and the following weeks and months of this format. So this is the represented chart made by Rai_10Y status on his Twitter and shared by ESDR Facebook page. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's start with the bottom tier on this tier list, the B tier. At first we have Vanadium Visa Starfrost Shenanigans. I really think that this is well deserved on B tier because this is a very explosive deck. It can make some legit and powerful end boards, and then it can overwhelm a lot of decks on the format right now due to the negations and interruptions that this deck can make, like Barone, Borreload Savage, and then you have like IP Masquerena, and then Apollousa. So there's a lot of cards that this deck can bring out on their board, and I really think this is a very good deck right now on the format. So I agree with this one on the B tier with Vanadium. Moving on, we have Exosister. I really think that since the release of Martha and Returnia, Exosister has been a very good staple deck for many people, including me. I also play this deck on our locals, and I know for a fact that Exosister can be really good on the format if there's a lot of graveyard effects on the format, like these tier laments and then other decks and Unchained, those decks that can be affected by Exosister gimmick. So I think that this is a pretty decent deck right now in the format, and I agree with this personally on the B tier right now. And the banish for in a single turn of Exosister is no joke either. Can really disrupt many decks right now in the format, and not to mention the graveyard lock of Exosister can be very detrimental against the likes of tier laments. So yeah, I agree with this Exosister here. And then moving on, we have Unchained. So I cannot stress enough how powerful this deck is right now on the Philippines, because there's a lot of local players on the Philippines that plays Unchained right now on the current format, and they are seeing nothing but success. They have been very successful with the Unchained. Players cannot cope with the Unchained. They can't seem to find the solution against playing against Unchained. So they are gaining success and multiple tops using this deck, and I have experienced it myself. I played against this deck, and this is a very powerful deck right now in the format, especially when you don't know how to interrupt and when to interrupt the Unchained line of play. This can be very nasty on the format. So yeah, I think that this is a pretty deserving inclusion here on the B tier. I would rather put Unchained in the middle of A and B if there's something like that on this tier list, but yeah, it's pretty good here on B, and I hope that Unchained will go into the top for the following weeks and months, because I want to hit this deck on Konami because I'm stressed on playing against this deck on our community. So yeah. And then moving on, we have Ignister. I guess this is having support from Firewall Engine and then Code Talker Shenanigans, those cyber spell stuff on this Ignister deck. I don't agree with this one, to be honest. I think that this is what they call this Walmart version of Matmech. It has its strengths on this deck, but I don't think it's enough to conquer the current format, and I really don't think so that this deck can be very good on the format, especially Max is very game warping. It can really shut down this deck if the Ignister player doesn't have Ash Blossom or Called by the Grave and Cross out. So yeah, I don't think it is a relevant deck on B tier here. I would rather put Salamangreat here due to the recent tops of Salamangreat, or even Runic, because those two decks I have mentioned can definitely top on the post ban list. on this current metagame. And especially Salamangreat got more consistent with the Salamangreat of Fire. It can really bring out a decent board and decent interruptions on the opponent's turn. So I really think that Salamangreat should be here, but behind Vanadium, I guess. So yeah, I don't agree with this Ignister here. I would put Salamangreat or Runic over this on this B tier. And then moving on, we have A tier. We have the Earth Pile, the Earth Good Stuff, the 60 card Earth Good Stuff with this Super Heavy Samurai, Adamantipator, Burn Silk, and other Black Dragon stuff on Earth Pile decks. And I agree with this one on the A tier right now, because as you can see, players in Taiwan and mainland China and then Hong Kong, there's a lot of people that are gaining success from the deck. If you have watched their metagame closely, you can definitely see a lot of people tapping with this deck, especially on big tournaments with the recently concluded Duelist Cup Main Event Asia. As you can see, there's a lot of good players that play this deck, like the 2018 World Champion and 2019 finalist Wang Chaching. He played Earth Good Stuff on the tournament. But to be fair, the tournament was held with the April Banlist. So I think that this deck got a little consistency hit with the Banlist, but I definitely think that 2 Black Dragon will be a problematic case on this deck. And I think that this deck has still the it factor that can definitely push them on the metagame. And I think that this deck is still very strong. It can make a really powerful board like a Vanadium, and it can really play around many hand traps, except for Droll, of course. But yeah, this deck can play around through Veiler, through Imperm, through Ghost Mourner. So yeah, I think this deck has that very explosive nature to overwhelm a lot of decks on the format. And then next we have Labyrinth. I don't agree with this Labyrinth on A tier. I have seen a lot of Labyrinth taps recently on the post-Banlist tournaments, and I would definitely say that Labyrinth should be on S tier on this format, because the transaction rollback is a massive addition to Labyrinth, and even decklists without transaction rollback can tap on the format right now using this Labyrinth strategy. And I think that Labyrinth is a very solid control deck right now, probably the best trap deck right now, but most players play it with Furniture or the IKEA build. So yeah, it is a pretty control to mid-range type of deck, but I really think so that Labyrinth should be up to the S tier with the likes of Rescue Ace and Tier Laments, because this is a very powerful deck right now, especially on the hands of the right pilot that can manage the resources of Labyrinth correctly and interrupt the opponent precisely using the interruptions of Labyrinth. So yeah, I think that it should be higher. And then moving on, we have Branded. I really agree with this one. Branded on A tier. I think that Branded is a really strong deck. They are the deck that have minimal deductions or hits on the previous banlist, the recently concluded banlist. So they are more likely to be a good deck right now in the format, especially they are not that touched on the banlist. And as you can see, Branded have been hit many times before with Branded Fusion going into 1, Branded opening getting into 1, and then those Branded hits, and they are still that competent because they have a lot of support from Konami, to be honest, from the Branded saga, lore of archetype on those Branded Dogmatica shenanigans story on the OCG structures. So I think that they have the enough kit on the deck to compete against the very best decks on the format. So yeah, at A tier we have Branded. I really agree with this one. And then moving on, we have Purely. I don't think it should be higher than Branded on this A tier, but players put the Purely on the A tier because it can definitely still tap on the format, and players are still coping with the deck. So more players are playing Purely than over these decks right now in the format, because this is the former best deck of the previous format. So yeah, I think that Purely is still strong. Sleepy Memory to 1 is a consistency hit, but it's nothing more than that. I think that Purely still has that ceiling. They just lost some consistency and resiliency, but overall the deck is still pretty strong on the format, and I think that Purely should be a top contender right now on the format on this 8-tier list, and I agree with this one. But I think that Branded is kinda a little bit stronger than Purely, and especially Labyrinth. And then moving on the S tier, we have Rescue Ace. So Rescue Ace saw resurgence on the dawn of the previous format. You have seen Rescue Ace tops on the Duelist Cup tournaments all over the Asia. And like yesterday, you have seen Rescue Ace as well on Duelist Cup main event on the top 8. So I think that Rescue Ace is a pretty solid S tier deck due to the recent success of the deck on the previous weeks, on the remainder of the April format and the beginning of July format. Players went to the Rescue Ace because this is the deck that the Banlist didn't touch. So yeah, I think that players assume that this is going to be the best deck right now on the format. And yeah, I think so that this is a deserving S tier deck, and I also believe that Rescue Ace should be the best deck after those ban lists. So yeah, I think S tier should be rightfully so on this S tier, and Rescue Ace is pretty strong because there's a lot of interruptions going on with the deck, and the deck is pretty much consistent with 1-card combos with Airlifter and Emergency. This deck can pop off really easy. And it has a lot of spaces also for utility cards and hand traps. So this is a very good mid-range deck on the format. If you are trying to pick up a mid-range deck, it should be Rescue Ace no matter what for me. And I think that Rescue Ace should be a little bit more recognized as the best deck. But I do agree with these S tier Tearlaments because they have only lost one Fenrir, and then Tearlaments should be more capable to be the best deck on the format, because I have seen many matchups of Rescue Ace versus Tearlaments, and I can see that Tearlaments are winning more of those matchups based on my observations against those type of games, because Tearlaments have been very slippery. You know what I mean? The deck can be very tricky to deal against because it is not linear. They don't have linear plays, and the plays are situational on Tearlaments, and when the luck favors you when you're playing Tearlaments, the deck is still godly and can pop off a lot of times on those occasions. So I think that on a skill basis, players with more skill and high skill expression should go with Tearlaments, because Tearlaments is very complex to play, and there's a lot of going things and tools on this deck to cater and answer a lot of decks right now on the format, like Sulik, and then Meta Noise, and then they have Scream for consistency and resiliency. So yeah, Tearlaments is still the best deck for me on the format aside from Rescue Ace, but it's 50-50. But if I'm a top tier skilled player, I would rather go for Tearlaments because the deck is more complex and harder to deal against on the format. So yeah, I do agree with these many of the decks on this tier list. I would only put Labyrinth on S tier, and then Salamangreat or Runic in replacement of the Ignister on the B tier. So yeah, that sums up our tier list video for the post Banlist tier list this July 2023. So lend me your thoughts on the comment section if what are the things that you should consider on this tier list, and how this tier list gathers your thoughts on the following format that we have on this July. So let me know, guys, what are your thoughts about this tier list, and comment down below if you have suggestions as well. Thank you for watching this video. Hit the subscription button if you are not yet subscribed on my YouTube channel, and hit the like button if you like this kind of content. And see you on the next one. See you very soon, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.